This is Michelle Lopez.
Hi.
Hi. First question. How do you know me?
Um, I know you from being a friend to my daughter, Angie. You met in high school, and I don't know how many years it was in high school. Was it sophomore year, maybe? You guys started being friends?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been some years. What, 4 years? 5 years? 4 that you've known her?
Mm-hmm. About.
I've only known you for a couple, so.
Alright. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Milwaukee, on the east side of Milwaukee,
Mm-hmm.
mostly based on my memories of it. We moved a lot when we were little because my mom was a nurse, and my father was still going to school he was a welder at American Motors, and my mom was working like night shifts as a nurse, and my father would go to school to be a welder during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived on different parts of town. We lived on back in the day we lived on like off of Capitol, like 20-something Capitol. Well, now it's not, as safe of a neighborhood as it was before, but back then it was more family oriented. It was a safer place.
Mm-hmm.
And but the most time that I can remember is when we lived on the east side. It was like on Kenwood and Cambridge, kind of near UWM campus over there. And most of our time was spent there. And then when I was 12, we moved up to Grafton, which is like 30 miles north of here, and that's where I spent, my preteen years, high school years, and early college years.
You mentioned a lot of we. How were you as a teenager?
Like, as far as like my demeanor as a teenager,
Yeah,
or
like
my personality as a teenager?
Personality, attitude. How would you describe yourself?
I was very shy. I was a very shy girl. I was a fat girl, so I was always very shy. I was chubby from little on, and it didn't so much affect me while I was in like elementary school, but as I got into middle school, especially when we moved up to Grafton, just seems like people were different. I don't want to say like they were more snooty, but they were not city, like didn't grow up in the city where there was like a lot of exposure to a lot of different diversity and things like that, because it was like out in it's like a rural area. And so everybody knew each other. It was a smaller town. So when I first moved out there, me and my brother were looked down upon like, minority out there, because really there wasn't any people that were of different descents, like no Latinos, no people of, color at all. So so it was kind of lonely for me. And then at the same time, we moved into a subdivision where there was hardly any houses, because we built our house there. So it was like a house here, a house there, a house there. So, and it was, like I said, not very developed. So there weren't any sidewalks. There were paths leading down like hills to get to like the local stores, where we had to walk to the grocery stores and stuff like that. But
So were there any activities you did as a teenager?
are you talking about like did I do sports, or was I in clubs?
Yeah, like when you were a teenager, just what you usually did?
When I was a teenager, in high school, I was in some clubs. Back then it was different. We had stuff like home economics classes and stuff like that. So I did a lot of like, and I was in dumb clubs. I was in choir, which I loved choir. So that was kind of like a club. It was part of what we had to take for high school, but it was also a lot of after school type stuff, because we performed at like, where we would compete with other schools, like different combinations of people, like groups of 4 or 6 people singing just songs like that and harmonizing. So we did that, and I belonged to what was called a club called Future Business Leaders of America, where it was mostly like learning how like to be secretarial, like office skills, like typing and shorthand, like, like secretarial stuff. We also learned how to do like the machines for court reporting, like court reporting machines, stuff like that. I also learned how to do, like, I did a lot of work for teachers, like during my study halls, like preparing like flyers and stuff for their classes, and then making copies.
Did you get along with your family or relatives?
Oh, definitely. We were very close with both, like my mother's and my father's side of the family. My mother's family was more like they were German. They were German and French descent, but they grew up on farms. My grandma and grandma on her side, so it was a little bit different of family when we got together with them, because it was more like going up to a cabin up north and on a lake and fishing and swimming and, in a trailer at first, but then later on they built a home up there, like a little on the lake home, and that's where they ended up retiring. And we would spend a lot of our summers up there with like our aunts and our uncles and our cousins from there. But then on my father's side, because they had because they were Latin descent, because my father's parents migrated over here from Mexico when they were young. There was the Latin undertones. There was the food, not really so much the culture where, you had to have like a quinceañera and it had to have certain customs and stuff like that, because when my grandparents came here, they wanted to be Americanized. My grandfather, when they came over here, they wanted to learn how to speak English right away and write, and basically be an American. I mean, he would help other people that were migrating from other countries. He would sometimes, help them get started and stuff. That was my father's father. So he just wanted to be an American. So he actually, our get-togethers were different, where it was the different food, and we always had parties at, people's houses, whereby, it wasn't much outdoor activity, what I'm saying. But not so much, a little bit of the culture, but not hardcore culture, because he wanted to be Americanized. He wanted to, that's what he came to the United States for. So, and then he earned a good living. He worked for the Milwaukee Railroad, laying down railroad tracks, my grandpa did. And so, and earned a pension. It wasn't like he had to create an identity coming from that country. Like now it's like different when people are trying to migrate from Mexico. They have to go through so many changes. They have to have, identification, and sometimes it's somebody else's. It's different. It was different then. So it was like different, close-knit relationships with each family, each side of the family, but yet, different activities, so. But yeah, we were very close, and we still are with who has ever left. We still are.
Speaking about memories, what was your happiest moment as a younger person?
As a younger person, like, do you mean like,
Whatever age, like teenager, young adult?
Young adult. The reality of being a mother for the first time with my oldest daughter, but being a single mother, and the challenges of that. I mean, it was challenging at the time, and it was difficult at the time, but it was something that I was proud of doing. I mean, I had support. I had my mother and father to support me and stuff, and that helped. But, just the fact that, the reality of having to finally, to have a child and not expecting it, but yet the reality of saying that, this is going to be mine and belong to me, and, I have a job to do now. I have to not worry about just myself anymore. I have to worry about her, and that she turns out okay. That would probably be it.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you.